Quick, it's time to go over to your families for the holidays, and you need to somehow pack easy to pack games that appease your father who doesn't like to learn rules, your grandmother who's a professional bridge player, as well as your little nieces and nephews. How are you going to do that? Well, welcome to the Board Game Dojo, where we specialize in Asian games, and today we have a list of both import and non-import recommendations for just that purpose. I have with me a stack of games here, a cup of coffee here to help you with your last minute decisions on what games to bring this holiday season. And let's start off with a quick little game that you can teach in 30 seconds from Taiwan, the filler game Vegetable Stock. Vegetable Stock is an economic game in which players will be trying to get the most points. Each round, you'll put out a number of cards equal to the players plus 1, and then you'll take turns picking one of those cards. Whatever card isn't taken that round will move up the stock of the vegetables on that remaining card. But be careful, because if that vegetable reaches the top, it resets all the way down to 0. You'll do this every round, taking turns of who goes first each round until the end of the game, and then you'll look at how many of each vegetable you have, multiply that by its current stock, and then whoever has the most points wins. Vegetable Stock is a game that you can teach in 30 seconds, but it is so addictive. It only takes 5 minutes to play, so one game turns into 2, and 2 games turns into 3, and then soon enough this filler game is actually what you're going to play for an hour. And thanks to its cute artwork and surprising amount of strategy, it has been a hit at every family gathering that I've brought to it thus far. But you might be thinking, I like the food theme, Eric, and you've made me hungry, but do you have something that's maybe cooperative? Well, I've got you covered with Oink's Order Overload. Order Overload is a memory game that seems easy at first, but is actually quite difficult, because every round you will be starting off by calling out the order that has been being placed. You'll then deal out cards to the players, and then you'll have to take turns remembering what exactly that order was. The first round might be easy as you only have a few cards to remember, but slowly and definitely surely, and for us maybe just round 2, you're going to start forgetting what the heck was just called out. It's a game that if you go through 7 rounds, you actually win, but I don't know how that actually feels because I've never made it that far. Order Overload is a funny game in which you're going to be laughing at how bad your memory is and how overconfident Grandpa was that he in fact does have the best memory of the family, and wait a second, he didn't even remember the first order of matcha latte that we had. I think memory is fun, but I think some people in my family will have some problems if it's just memory. Do you have something that's like memory with other things? Then I have not 1, but 2 recommendations based on how many players you're going to have. If you have less than 6 people, we recommend That's Not a Hat. And if you have more than 6 people, we recommend Mascarade. Both of these games use memory as a mechanic, but also, importantly, bluffing, just in case you don't quite remember what's going on. That's Not a Hat is a game in which players will be passing around cards that have pictures of gifts on them. On your turn, you'll need to pass one of the cards in front of you, saying what you think is on the face-up side of the card. The player who receives the card will either accept it because they believe you, or say, that's not an apple. Then they'll reveal what it is, and if they're right and it wasn't that, then you get a penalty. But if they were wrong, then they get the penalty. The game is over once somebody takes 3 penalties, and whoever has the least amount of penalties wins. Masquerade, on the other hand, does have that memory element and a bit of bluffing, but adds in hidden roles. Each player will have a different hidden role that will switch around at the table, and they have different powers and different ways to win. But as these roles are switching around, you might be taking a role that you think you know what it is, but you really don't, shuffling under the table, and now you don't even know who you are anymore. But you at least have to act like you do. Just like in That's Not a Hat, you need to at least act like you know what's on the other side of the card. Both of these games have memory as a mechanic, and it certainly does help to have a good one, but it absolutely isn't necessary. The key thing for both of these games is a good bluffing ability. The truth should be hard to get. Yeah, it wasn't the best transition, but I did want to work it in because the next game we have is hard to get, a darling of Essen this year that was known as a Codenames Beater. Hard to Get is a word game in which you'll have a grid of words out on the table and one person who knows what the word is. But, however, they have to give you these clues based on some not so helpful hints in which they'll only have 2 choices. They'll need to choose one of the 2 words and they'll put it in the box for everybody to see. And then the rest of the players need to take away at least 1 word on the table that they don't think matches that clue. However, you have a limited number of rounds and you need to have the only card remaining on the table being the correct word. So at some point you need to start taking risks and taking away more cards, maybe even some that you're not that confident in. It's a game that when you lose, it sparks discussion. How could you think Tom Hanks had anything to do with cheese? Well, he was in a cheesy movie with Meg Ryan, duh. But when you're right, you feel like a master of words. And when you feel like a master of words, you are ready for our next game. The next game comes to us from Jelly Jelly Games, one of my bets of who's going to be the next big internationally known Japanese game publisher, and it's called Word Drop. Word Drop is a game in which the players will split into 2 teams, the discussion team and the guessing team. In Word Drop, the discussion team will draw a secret word card that'll have a list of 8 different words on it. Then on the draw pile, they'll take a look at the number and that will denote the secret word that they have for that round. You'll then draw a theme card that will be the conversation topic that they need to talk about, flip the 3-minute timer, and then they need to talk for the 3 minutes. And somewhere in that 3-minute time, they need to say the secret word. The guessing team will be listening attentively to figure out what the secret word is, and once the 3 minutes are up, they have 3 guesses to guess the secret word. If they do, they win, but if they don't, the discussion team wins. Word Drop is a game that you can explain in 30 seconds, and it feels so much like Oink's Insider, in a way that you're trying to steer the conversation towards a certain topic, but not so obviously that the other team can guess that you're trying to do that. For example, if your topic is what you're doing tomorrow and you're suddenly switching to having to talk about the moon, well, that's a little bit silly. You're gonna need to cover that up some way, right? But how? It's a game that changes based on who you play. How well do you know the people that you're talking with, and how much awkward silence you actually have during the 3 minutes is a little bit worrying. But it's a great filler game that you can play for 10 minutes, 30 minutes while you're waiting for dinner. That game sounds fun, but it sounds a little bit difficult to play with younger kids, like my nieces and nephews. Do you have something that I can play with them? Sure, I have just the thing, and it's coming from Korea, called Tasso Banana. Tasso Banana is a dexterity game in which you will be stacking bananas, and that's pretty much the whole game. In this game, you'll have a few leaves in which you cannot touch, but otherwise you'll be making banana towers and banana bridges in order to be the first person to get rid of all of your bananas. This game is part of Playte's L-board line, in which the box is also the game board, so not only does it have a big toy factor, but is also extremely portable. It's quick, it's simple, and it's really good to play with kids. And now, I don't really have a good transition to the next game, but it is one of the most popular games that we've had on the channel, and probably the one that I've gotten the most messages of people loving the game that they heard from our channel, and that is Ito. You knew it was going to happen at some point in this video, right? Ito is a party game that is kind of like a mix of the mind and wavelengths, in which each player is going to secretly be given a card between 1 and 100. Then you as a team will pick a category that might be something like most popular pizza toppings or most popular toy. The higher the number, the better or more of something. The lower the number, the worse or less of something. So for example, if the category is best pizza topping and you have a really high card, you might say, pineapple. And if you have a low card, you might say, anchovies. After everybody is done giving their clue, you will then as a team need to discuss the order that you think everybody's cards go in. If you get it in the right order, you win. If you don't, then you lose. This game sparks plenty of discussion and laughter. It's a game in which when you lose, we spend just as much time saying, what the heck did you mean by that? And why did you think that your clue was more than this other clue over here? But when you win, you feel like you have such a mind meld that it is a good feeling. And when you're ready for that mind meld and a little bit more difficulty, ooh boy, do I have a game for you. Infiltraitors is a deduction game out of Hong Kong in which players are going to be trying to guess the suspects. On your turn, you are going to give hints as to what your card is, and it might be relevant to the color, it might be relevant to the number of the card, but you can also spend your turn drawing more cards to help out or trying to guess somebody else's card. You need to guess all of the suspects before either all the cards run out or you run out of guesses. And if you do, then you win the mission. And there are 20 different missions that play and make tweaks on the basic rule set. So just when you think you're getting good at this game and you have it down, there's going to be a rule change in which you have to relearn how to be good with your teammates all over again. Although in our video review we said that our preferred player count is 2 players, this is still fun with up to 5 players. But I do warn you that you can get pretty frustrated with people when they're not quite understanding your clearly obvious hint that you're playing. And when it's time to do that, I think it's time to get to a little bit more of an aggressive game. This is Harvest, and it's a take that game. But hey, it's got cute art, so it's okay, right? Harvest is a game from 1992 in which you'll simply be putting down cards of different vegetables on different people's fields. You can play a card down on your field, or you can play a card down on other people's fields, and they will have differing amounts of points on them. But why would you want to be giving other people points? Well, I just said that you'd be giving them points. I didn't say positive points, because some of these cards have things like -20 or a -40 on them. Once you get 3 in a row of the same kind of vegetable, then it's time to harvest. So if they have a -40 tomato in their field and you got a 3 in a row tomato and on your field you have a +20 tomato, well ha ha ha, you have a 60-point swing on that person as you made them lose 40 and you gained 20 yourself. Its take that nature is unavoidable. It does not feel good when somebody makes you lose 40 points, but there's so many opportunities to make other people lose points in this game that there is no way that you're going to be able to gang up on just one person and make them feel bad. It's definitely not going to be for everybody, and you need to know in advance if this is definitely something that's going to be for your family or not. But it's been picking up a lot of steam in Japan lately as people are getting games for their New Year's holidays, and especially now that it has an expansion, I want to bring it to your attention, so if you're interested in it, you can get it before it sells out. That's cool and all. I think my family will take that, but maybe to end the night we might want something a bit sillier. Do you have something like that? Catch Sketch and its expansion Catch Sketch Magic Hat are drawing games in which you'll need to draw as fast as you can, but you'll need to draw it well. One player will draw a card and headband style show it to everybody else, but they cannot themselves see it. The other players will need to draw it as fast as they can, because once they're done drawing it, they'll grab a point token from the middle. The guessing player will then go from the highest point total and see if they can get it, and if they can't, they'll move on to the next player until they can guess the correct answer. Overall, the base game is just that, and it does end pretty quickly with the people who are the best drawers usually winning, and that is why we tend to recommend the expansion Magic Hat. What the Magic Hat expansion does is it changed the drawing board into a board that has 4 quadrants. Instead of taking one of the point tokens, somebody can take the Magic Hat token. And what the Magic Hat token does is it allows the player to say one of the quadrants of everybody else's board that they will erase. So you might say 1, and everybody needs to erase all of their picture that ended up being in the 1 quadrant. It makes it so that sometimes the best drawers really don't win because part of their picture just ended up getting erased, and now it looks like just the line. What is that? It tends to lead to a lot more laughs, and that's what we're looking for in a drawing game. A game that both rewards people who are good at drawing, but also people who can be strategic about it as well. But whether you get the expansion or not, I think Catch Sketch is a very solid drawing game recommendation. So there you have it, our list of games that we recommend you bring to your family's house this holiday season. We had all sorts of games on this list, from take that games to word games to party games. And we hope that you found something that you think your family will enjoy. If I can get that standing up. If you think this list was helpful, hit that subscribe button and that like button. We've been really appreciative of everybody joining the dojo as of late and really appreciated that. And if there's a game that you specifically thought looked fun, leave a comment below. What are you going to be bringing this holiday season? Is it something that we have here on the table? Or is it something that you've had a lot of success with your family? We're all a part of the dojo. We're all trying to help each other out. So if you have any opinions on games that you've had success with, leave that comment below. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. ありがとうございました. Until next time, じゃあね.